Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, I want to say hello to the Big C tribe in Africa. You know we love you. We love you in Canada. But Big C, there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going on this beautiful January 29th, 2018, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I'm a little dismayed right now because I changed the channel a couple of times yesterday and I saw a couple of All-Star games. At least they said they were All-Star games.
Yeah.
and it looked more like a touch football contest and just a hockey shootout.
Yeah, I think they found a way. You know how sometimes when you take a part of the hog and you have the ham hog, they have pork ribs, they have pork feet, if you like, people like pig feet, and then they even got people that eat the hoofs. And then after all that good old boy stuff is carved up, they scrape all together the scraps and make it a sausage. Big C, is that what the NFL is doing, trying to escape every little bit of talent and call it an Arsenal game? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, it's gotten worse and worse every year. And I mean, for an individual to be captivated by this 7-on-7 passing league that they have going on, where the linemen take off and just stand there and lean on each other, for 3 hours, and receivers run uncontested routes. Nobody's tackling each other. Which I understand nobody's trying to get hurt this time.
Right.
The NFL is going to have to find another way to milk the money out of the people. I mean, if they go back to the format that they had in the early 70s and late 60s, Charlton, the Super Bowl champion versus the college football All-Americans.
Yeah.
That was a great game, right before the start of training camp.
Yeah.
Where you brought in the All-American teams and you played them against the Super Bowl champion, Charlton. That was a great fanfare, and it used to be held at Soldier Stadium in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
And they were very competitive in that game, because the Super Bowl champs didn't want to lose to a bunch of college upstarts.
Yep.
But they were trying to cement themselves, in the league as far as that they belonged and that they could play against the best, Charlton.
Yeah, and that's true, too, Big C. I do want to say today's segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C said, so you could drive a car or you could drive a Cadillac. I want to ask your thoughts on the Pro Bowl. To me, it was always more enjoyable when players got the chance to go to Hawaii as opposed to Orlando, Florida. And it was great for the island because they only saw NFL football on the Pro Bowl. They didn't see it in regular season. If you're in Florida, you can see the Dolphins, you can see the Jaguars, or you can also see Tampa play. But to have it in Florida, number one, there's not a huge crowd. It's more of they've already seen it, so there's no big deal. There's not a big deal when you're not even seeing the best the NFL has to offer. But you see that in Hawaii, where people tend to be a little bit more energized about it. What could they do to improve it? I think if they put it after the Super Bowl, at least you could get players that are in the Super Bowl that could play in it. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the longer the season goes, the less people want to participate, and the more higher risk of injury that you deal with.
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying you slated this one All-Star game where you took the All-Americans and you pitted them against the Super Bowl champs. And Super Bowl champ are going to be playing a lot of their rookies and backup players regardless, Charlton. But at least early in the season, if you put this in a designated place, used to be played in Soldier Field in Chicago.
Yeah.
If you put that game in Hawaii, Charlton, and allow the Hawaiian Islands to see the Super Bowl champ versus the best that college football had drafted into the NFL.
Yeah.
That would be an exciting event because you're not going to have people taking plays off because you don't have people knowing each other.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a brother-in-law going on out there.
Yeah.
And so that would be something exciting for everybody. You're going to have these All-Americans get a chance to take a trip to Hawaii.
Yep.
Some of them may even, make the Pro Bowl the following year, Charlton.
Yeah.
But I think you have to go back to what you once had if you want to make things good again.
Yeah, and a lot. If we contrast that with because the NFL is the most popular sport out there, at least the United States of America. The NBA is good. The NBA All-Star Game is mostly built around the entertainment aspect of it, but you'll see a high-scoring game. Sometimes the score might be 155 to 140. And so we like those games. Now, this was a closer game, 24-23, the AFC won, but you're seeing players just out there kind of it's like 7-on-7, which could be just as exciting. If there's a way to get money out of people's pockets, the NFL has figured it out, but I think it would do the players justice also in Hawaii to have that game over the course of the season. Would we ever see a return, Big C, in your thoughts, of college football players versus NFL players, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's something that, the commissioner is going to have to take an in-depth look at, Charlton, because it once was an all-time sellout game. Every time you had it, there was a lot of exciting performances going on. You had these young players trying to establish themselves, against NFL veterans. And so that's what you look at. You look to find a competitor strong.
Yeah.
To have that balance, and you once had that.
Yeah.
And once you got away from that, Charlton, and said, okay, we're going to throw this thing on at the end of the season.
Yeah.
When no one's really interested. I think if you did something like what the NBA does, where they have the first and second year players playing against each other, Charlton.
Yeah.
In that type of an all-star format, maybe you might get some more excitement, but you got a 10-year veteran out there thinking that he's going to go full out, in an all-star game with really no incentive. His base salary is $7 million, and if he wins the all-star game, Charlton, he's going to get $62,000.
Yeah.
His bonus and incentives outweigh that. Getting there.
Yeah, that's true. So we know the NFL is going to do a great job promoting, but I really do think you do the fans a disservice when they're paying money to come see touch football. And I know Von Miller had a great game, but it's hard to say a great game when they're not really going all out. Even though in his interview he said we didn't know that
Nobody
he was supposed
blocked him, Charlton.
Yeah, no one blocked him. It was almost like they were playing against the Raiders offensive line when they were familiar with that. So we'll see hopefully how the NFL will address that. I know the NBA does a good job. Even Major League Baseball, what I like about the All-Star game for baseball, they'll bring in some of the veteran players, and they'll have the veterans game and the old guys game, and they'll play the night before, and it kind of gives you a chance for some of the guys who can still walk, Big C. I don't think Ricky Henderson was still in bases, but he did kind of, jog around the bases when they were down there in Florida. I think that's something that you could have to make it more than just that game of flag football, Big C. And I think that would help the NFL a lot when they're trying to sell that brand. I want to ask you this question. That gentleman that wants to bring in the XFL, and, he's going to have, I think, 8 games or so. McMahon. And they didn't make success the first time. The second time around, if he has success, I know he came on and said no one with a record can be part of the league. No one that has any type of criminal background can be a part of the league. Has McMahon looked at some of the wrestlers that have been involved? I'm sure they're all clean, no trace of any steroid activity, Big C. Is that the kind of clean McMahon's talking about, Big C? Your thoughts?
Oh, I'm not sure what he was totally getting at, Charlton. There's no one with a history or records or whatever that can get into the league. I mean, it's hard to find an athlete nowadays, Charlton, without anything, a la Michigan State.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to sit here, what he did originally, Charlton, in his inaugural league is that he rushed it. He did it all with under a year.
Yeah.
Okay, so he didn't have time to really organize anything. He and NBC just rushed to throw it out there. It was a half-cooked meal.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things that they did in that league, the NFL adapted. If you think about it, when we watch NFL games now, Charlton, we see the camera behind the quarterback.
Yeah.
That was an innovation from the XFL.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that they did camera-wise and fan-worthiness that the NFL took from them and took it to make the NFL more exciting. The NFL recognized that competition will create ingenuity.
Yeah.
And that's what they took from that league, as well as they took it from the USFL. They've taken it from the Canadian Football League also.
Yeah.
They just don't tell anybody where they got it from.
Yeah.
People who know football know where they took it from.
They know where it came from.
This is the situation if McMahon does it right with the right amount of marketing.
Yeah.
And doesn't try to go out there with the outrageous fanfare. Just put quality football out there. People can watch 8 games, Charlton.
Yeah.
A 16-game schedule, no.
Yep.
But an 8-game schedule, people can withstand that.
And I think that's a good point. I would love to see the league work because it gives players more jobs. But I think there's a slippery slope when an owner starts acting as if his wrestling league is clean. It's not clean. If he holds these professional football players to the same standard as his WWE and all that attention around that industry, if they drug test everybody, his own business might be out of business, Big C. So I don't think it could come down too hard and saying that only Jesus Christ can play this in this football league that he's coming up with, Big C. Even Jesus will have a hard time with some of the things that goes on in the world of sports. So hopefully we'll see it happen. I know we've tried NFL Europe, and that went away. We've had the USFL. We know what Donald Trump's input had, and that collapsed also. The USFL had some momentum, but there's a time when you have a hard time sustaining it. I want to get your thoughts on something about the oversaturation of something. The NFL needs to stop the Thursday night games. I don't know how soon that's going to happen because they have a lot of money already put into it, and hotels and contracts. But if we don't find a way to give people a chance to breathe, it's almost like a smorgasbord, Big C. You can eat too much food and not want anything else to eat, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, college football is competing against the NFL when it comes to that, Charlton.
Yeah.
If you look at college football, it gets to a point where it starts being played on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Okay, the NFL plays Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
Once that season gets into it. And college football is emulating the same thing. Basically, the only days that they don't play is Sunday and Monday.
Yeah.
Only time you don't have college football. So it's an oversaturation by the networks. It's not the leagues, Charlton.
Yeah.
The networks are demanding that the leagues put games out there. They will pay them.
Yeah.
It's hard to turn down money anywhere in society, but when you have these networks and hey, I got these sponsors that want to sponsor.
Yeah.
And here's $8 million for us to broadcast the game.
Yeah.
You're gonna do it.
You saying you wouldn't? You saying you wouldn't turn down the $8 million, Big C, to talk about flag football for about 2 hours, Big C?
Well, you got to look at it. The players don't have a say-so in it, y'all.
No.
They got to go get dressed and play.
Yeah.
The owners are the ones sitting back with the cocktail in the luxury suite.
Yeah.
Hey, that check went through.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what that is.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about the diminishing product that we get now in sports because of oversaturation, I mean, you can't turn on the TV now and not see a college basketball game on, Charlton, every day.
Yeah.
7 days a week. And so when you talk about oversaturation, the networks clamor to put these games on, and every time there's a new fledgling network comes up, they're putting on games.
Yeah.
Regardless of the quality of the game, Charlton, they're putting the games on.
Yeah.
And so when we say that there's too much and there's a gluttony going on out there, it's not the league. It's television that's doing it.
Yeah.
Because before you had these 24-hour sports programs, Charlton, you didn't have the opportunity to put on sports all the time.
Yeah.
Networks are actually airways of the citizens.
Yeah.
They're public service airways when you talk about the major three networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, and even Fox.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are public broadcasting signals, okay?
Yeah.
They make money off of everybody else is what they do.
Yeah.
But the public has equal access to everyone else to those networks.
Yeah, that's true. And it's oftentimes good when they have the competition. I want to just ask your thought on something. I know we had an award show in Southern California last night. Congratulations, Bruno Mars. Really cleaned up and had a lot of people just giving him a standing ovation. Has a lot of young energy in him. He mentioned something behind. There was a speech that he had given for one of the awards that he had won, and I think it's very poignant. He mentioned how he used to open in Hawaii. He was an opening act, get the crowd riled up. He mentioned that he thought about, as he was opening up, I think it was Jimmy Jam and a couple other guys that he had mentioned in the back of the day that motivated him. And now that he's doing his own thing, he talked about some of those great guys in the past in the hip-hop industry that opened doors for him. Also, we had some great, Sting was there. They had this profile. It was in New York. I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. It was actually New York at Madison Square Garden. But some of the actors and the musicians that were there, they all talk about this unity thing. I want to bring up two thoughts. Number one, Bruno Mars visualized his success. He started when he was 15 years old. It took a lot of years for him to become as great as he is now, but he kept working. That's for people who are trying to start their own thing. Jay-Z, I believe, represents a lot of people now. He's not just a rap mogul, Big C. He's also an agent. He's signed on several athletes also. Your thoughts on how talented that young man is and what he's able to do because his vision is bright, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, he's a mentor of that no cap, ceiling, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you look at Jay-Z.
Yeah.
You start from the lower levels and you work up. The ingenuity, Charlton, is what he had. Perseverance.
Yeah.
I mean, you speak about Bruno Mars. Jay-Z was in that same thing where he idolized people, Charlton.
Yeah.
But he also learned. I mean, and that's the biggest thing. I don't care whether it's in sports or whether it's in business. you have to have people that you can learn from. People have to present opportunity to you. It doesn't make any difference whether it's Dr. Dre, Jay-Z, any of these individuals, Charlton. You have to have an opportunity. People gave Bruno Mars an opportunity. He wasn't a success overnight. And there's many people who have been like Bruno Mars with the dreams, but, you have to get that door open for you to be able to exude that success. There's no one that opened the door for Bruno. Bruno wouldn't have that opportunity. He was a failure when he first started. But he had perseverance, and he kept going, just like Jay-Z and all those others. P. Diddy. When you look at a guy to get opportunity, Charlton, you have to be willing to capitalize on that opportunity, because everybody can't hold on to it. It becomes bigger than most individuals. When we see people get eaten up by the industry, whether it's in sports, whether it's entertainment, it happens every day. That instant success and not knowing how to deal with it, having the wrong people around you, where you're taking care of everybody, and then all of a sudden there's nothing to take care of anybody with, because all the leeches have taken everything from you. And we see that so often with athletes filing bankruptcy. We see that with entertainers filing bankruptcy. But, to have that success when you're in the entertainment field, and sports is entertainment just like music and the movie industry. It's all entertainment, Charlton. You have to understand the disciplines of each of those businesses.
That's a good point, Big C. And I'm glad that people are seeing, to me, it's one thing to say this, and it gives me a lot of pride. When I see the black diaspora of people, the talent that's like a rose that grows out of the ground, it has lots of blooms on it, or a redwood tree. It starts with a small seed, but it can grow 300 feet high. I look at the African American experience, and I still think back to coming up on Black History Month in February, and I look at someone like Jay-Z, who has a lot of mentors. His mentorship is deep, but I got to bring this up because, in honoring Black History Month coming up, I look at what people do when they're given an opportunity. I know we have the State of the Union coming up tomorrow, Big C, but Jay-Z as a rap mogul, and now he's a sports agent. We talk about sports and entertainment all the time. Now you have rappers. He's not the first one that signed some professional athletes, but he's one of the more known guys that signed professional athletes. It just shows that the talent of black Americans, when given the opportunity, it can do so much for the next person. I'm not saying that the mainstream hasn't had that opportunity, because we know they have, and oftentimes through cronyism and nepotism, they'll get in the door faster. But I'm proud of young black men that I heard talk last night about reaching back and helping the next one, because someone reached back and helped them. Big C, does that still resonate, or is that kind of something in the past, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, we're talking, there's always people that are helping, regardless of the culture. There's always someone guiding someone along. That's what mentorship is. It's a matter of, are you willing to accept it? Are you willing to start and labor to get to that point of success? So many people want instant gratification. That's American society now. We want it instantly. That's like the lottery ticket. You go buy the lottery ticket because you know you're going to win. You've been paying it for 20, 30 years, but you know you're going to win. Your numbers are going to come about. And some of that time, if you put that much effort into a daily succession of things that you wanted to accomplish in life, who knows what you may have accomplished? Everybody's not going to hit that $500 million jackpot. But you may have laid the foundation for something that a platform that would have kept you consistent for decades. So this is how you have to adjust and approach everything in life, Charlton. When you're an athlete, the base of any athlete is consistent training. Doing that repetitious thing daily. Even when you're tired, going back, doing it again. When you don't feel like getting out of bed, getting up, going out there, going through your training. That's how it is in building business. Most business, Charlton, everybody's not going to be like the president with your bag, gives you $14 million and say, hey, go start your business. Okay?
Well, I thought it was $10 million. It's $14 million?
So everybody doesn't get that opportunity. I mean, it's hard to get a small business loan in America. So a lot of small businesses in America are families putting together the funds, working for a common goal. It's not the banks funding people, it's families and friends. Funding each other to get to a common goal, but they have that work ethic. And that's what sports and entertainment is, and even business. It's a work ethic, Charlton.
That's true. So it's good to see so much talent coming, black and white, that were at the award show in New York City, and just expressing how opportunity. Give people the opportunity, but sometimes you got to go make your own opportunity. We can't just sit back and wait. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. Work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, even your mom and pop soccer leagues, when you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you at 800-772-8621. That's 800-772-8621. I got to bring up one more thing about that, too, because we talk about this billion-dollar industry. And I was watching the movie last night. I was changing channels. You know how sometimes you don't know what to watch until you start searching that channel, searching Big C. And I came up on a movie called The Blind Side. And it has Sandra Bullock, and it had there's a gentleman that played in the NFL for the Ravens, I believe. But ironically,
Michael Orr, played by Quentin.
Yeah, I know you know it, Big. I just had to say the name, and I know you come up with a name, Big C. But Nick Saban was the coach at LSU at the time. They had Lou Holtz, who was at South Carolina. They had the coach that was down there from Tennessee. There was a coach. I know you knew him, and they had a guy from Florida. And the point is, all these guys were Caucasian. They were after a talented black guy for football, not to help him learn math and science. But you make your opportunities where they come. The reason I bring this up, we know that Nick Saban's gone on to win, 5 or 6 national championships now, 1 at LSU, and then 5 at Alabama.
Yep.
And the thing I want to bring up when I say it's a billion-dollar industry, they were looking for a young black player to help them make that $100 million budget that they have for most of these major universities. It's $100 million. It's not about $50,000 or $100,000. It's $100 million for a lot of the big schools now. The same interest they put in that young black kid to come play football is the same type of interest I saw Jay-Z put into his music, and Bruno Mars and a lot of other people. The thing I want to say is, Big C, when the opportunity is there, people will open the door for you. And that's why I was so impressed at the award show last night, even more so than an athlete, because had that kid not learned to play football and being big and strong and fast, you think Nick Saban and all those coaches you mentioned would have showed up at his door to help him learn math and science? Big C, your thoughts?
They don't. I mean, they walk past kids all the time. I mean, to have the opportunity to play college football is a unique experience.
Yeah.
There's more talented kids not getting a chance to play college football and college basketball than they are. Because you just look at the total numbers of kids that are out there. But it all comes down to education. And even in that movie that you talked about, The Blind Side, Michael Orr had to work hard to get his GPA up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he'd have been one of those fallen through athletes, ended up at a junior college, and probably would have dropped out from there.
Yeah.
But, the education is still the foremost of things, having that mentorship to learn.
Yeah.
Just like in the entertainment industry. You got to have mentorship to get somewhere.
Yeah.
In education, you need mentorship. That's what a tutor is.
Yeah.
That's what a teacher is. They're your mentors.
Yeah.
And you have to follow the guidelines that they lay out for you. And when you follow that strict regiment chart of direction, you have an opportunity to succeed in life. Not many people want to be committed.
Yeah.
And that's what Americans lack.
Yeah.
Is commitment. Even in sports, when you look at training camp, and now they only bring in 75, 80 players in the training camp, versus the 120 we used to bring in.
Yeah.
When you looked around, it looked like, a ship had just arrived. And so there was a wave of bodies out there.
Yeah.
And now, the ones who get invited in has that focus.
Yeah.
Versus we had guys that are like, I don't know if I want to play. And stuff, if I don't make it, I'm going to go work for my dad.
Yep.
I mean, that type of talk went on in training camp.
Yeah.
In years past. But now, people come in and they're dedicated.
Yeah.
They condition year-round. Players, used to take, a month, 2 months off, work out for a couple of months before going to training camp.
Yeah.
They take a week, maybe 2 weeks off now. And back in the conditioning.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, just to see that attention given to young black boys, because I'm African American, so I speak from that paradigm. But I heard one of the Long brothers, and I was impressed with how prescient they are and how they're more open to seeing the whole diaspora of people, not just the white perspective. And I heard a gentleman for one of the CBS sports shows making the point, and they were talking about Jay-Z, and he was on with Van Jones at CNN. And Van Jones, very smart guy, very erudite guy. He had Jay-Z on, and he was talking about the Colin Kaepernick situation. And I got to bring this up because before I get into the Michigan State thing, I want to bring it up. When people were saying that Kaepernick, did he lose what he was trying to accomplish? Actually, there's laws right now on the Senate that's for criminal justice reform. I'm not saying it's all Kaepernick, but I'm saying he's shining a big light on it in the fact that the NFL pledged $100 million. Maybe that's not a lot of money, but it's more than what they had planned before Kaepernick got involved. It's a start, it's not an end. But the commentator, he mentioned he's a Caucasian guy, brought up middle-class Caucasian guy, never really interacted with a lot of black Americans until he was around the sports business, and that's where he saw a lot of African Americans. Not that that's good or bad, but his point was, did Colin Kaepernick really prove anything by taking a knee? Well, if he knew a lot of other black Americans who are 3 times likely to be charged by the criminal justice system than a white man, and oftentimes 4 out of 5 are on the tutelage of the criminal justice system compared to like 1 out of 8 white men. So when you stand in front of a judge, if there are people calling for reform, which is happening all over the country, that's the cause that people need to know. The last thing I'll say on that, Big C, for people that say if he takes a knee, he's anti-American, we always talked about how the league defended, the NFL defended men who beat their wives, Josh Brown for the Giants. That's considered more American than a man that says stop hurting black Americans. Can you see the contrast? Beating your wife was acceptable, saying stand up for black lives was deemed non-acceptable by the white media. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Colin Kaepernick hasn't played in the NFL for over a year.
Yeah.
And that commentator's still mentioning it as a name, isn't he?
Yep.
So he accomplished something.
Yeah, he accomplished something. And that's why it's important that we make sure that people can use their voice. They're doing it all over Hollywood. They're doing it in New York City. They're doing it everywhere. The voice that still needs to be heard. We looked at what's happening with Michigan State. I know if you have a lawyer, your lawyer says only a fool would represent himself in a court of law. So if you want to find a dumb guy, he's the guy who's representing himself in court. But Michigan State, they're asking the basketball coach and the football coach to expound on what happened. Well, I heard another attorney that works for ESPN, and he said you shouldn't have to really speak up, let your lawyer do that. But there's more that's come out on the president of Michigan State. I think 37 sexual misconduct allegations. Big C, that's since 2011. But they never call him unpatriotic, unlike Kaepernick for taking the knee for Black Lives Matter. Can you see the juxtaposition? Why sexual assault misconduct is hitting 37 times. A black man takes a knee and says, we want to bring attention to what's going on in the black community with criminal justice. And people say you're not American. Can you talk about why that exists, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, what talking is like the O.J. said years ago, for the love of money. Okay?
Yeah.
People will steal from each other. And that's what Michigan State did. They stole lives when they had young women reporting, 10 years ago of this sexual misconduct, environment that was going on at their university.
Yeah.
And they said, we will investigate it internally. So these people were in collusion.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of collusion in various NFL cases and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Michigan State was in collusion. And I listened to the basketball coach, Izzo, when they asking, how did you let this one assistant basketball coach keep coaching in 2010 after he had graduated and had punched a young lady in the face? And there were witnesses in a police report. He was charged with assault and battery.
Yeah.
A la Joe Mixon, the running back at Oklahoma who was suspended.
Yeah.
And Izzo kept him on the staff and kept paying him.
I know. Right? He knew about it.
That same year, he was charged and accused. Well, he was accused of sexual assault, rape with 2 other basketball players. Yeah. In the same 12-month period, this guy had committed assault and battery on a female student in a bar. Yeah. Then all of a sudden was in that same 12-month period with 2 other basketball players on the roster that he was in charge of. Yeah. Allegedly raped the female student. And Izzo was aware of both of these incidents. Yeah. And what astonished me the most, Charlton, was when he was standing there saying, I don't recall. I'm like, damn, is this Washington, D.C.?
It's Sessions again, yeah.
Jeff Sessions or somebody? Yeah. Saying what I don't recall, but you can see the pain on his face talking about, I'm perjuring myself. Yeah. Because there's reports. Because there was one incident that Mike D'Antonio, the football coach. Yeah. He had 11 players that had been accused of sexual misconduct. Wow. And his reprimand for one of the players, this was back in 2011, Charlton, that far back. So you notice that many, as a matter of fact, they dismissed 3 players off the team last year for sexual misconduct. Yeah. And then he had this one player talk to his mother and tell him, tell her what he had done
Yeah.
to his female student.
Yeah.
That was the punishment for the player.
Yeah.
To tell his mother that he had committed sexual assault.
Yeah.
That's how light D'Antonio looked at it. Not to tell the police, because we need you to play.
Well,
So we want you to tell your mother, and that will serve as reprimand for you.
well, you know, Big C, when you go into a store, a grocery store, or sometimes just a restaurant, it'll have on the front of the door or right to the side of the door if it's had a food inspection passed. If it's passed a food inspection, they let you know before you even walk in there. And I know we've been an advocate of this for so long. No tolerance for sexual assault. These schools, I know the NCAA is finally talking about it. We've been talking about it for 2 years. They need to start posting the assaults that have happened on campus, anything that's under investigation. They need to do that. Now, it doesn't mean that someone's guilty when they're accused. If there's an open investigation, they need to mention that. Some food places, when you drive up to them, it says this place is known by the state of California to contain elements that may cause cancer. You have that on a cigarette warning. If you smoke cigarettes, you're probably going to get some form of cancer, okay? That's why they put the warning on there, even though they fought the Surgeon General from doing that, but that's on there now. If you go into any situation, if you're driving down the highway, there's a speed bump up ahead. Normally it says speed bump ahead, or, U-turn up ahead. We need to have it posted, public knowledge for every university. If there's a high degree of assault, no matter what it is, that needs to be something a parent can see, Big C, just like in the movie Blind Side. That can also be a determining factor before they send their kid onto a school. That would help keep it more honest for the parents who decide to go anyway, or for the ones who said, you know what, I'm going to send my kid to another place that's more safe. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, what's the most disturbing part about this is Mark Emmert, president of the NCAA, has known about these allegations at Michigan State for over 7 years.
I know.
He's been aware, 37 of them that he was aware of over the last 7 years, and made no actions against Penn State. Now, this is the same guy who went after the death penalty on Penn State, under the Jerry Sandusky scenario.
Yeah.
But Emmert was aware of the misconduct that was going on in the gymnastics program, the basketball program, the football program. He was aware of the climate at Michigan State. This is the president of the NCAA, the governing body, who dictates who can and who can't. And he turned a blind eye on this program, Charlie, because it had risen to prominence. In football, basketball had always been a mainstay, and it was a feeder for the U.S. Olympic gymnastics team. But all the people in power, Charlton, were the ones who you have to put blame on. Because to sit there and just say, well, these girls, what bothers me the most about the young ladies, Charlton, is how many young ladies have to come forth before you believe them. One is never enough. I've learned that one lady, one young girl coming forth saying that some misconduct is going on is not enough. And they've proven that 10 is not enough, 20 is not enough, 30 is not enough. Michigan State has proven you got to get 150 young ladies together saying that I've been sexually assaulted before they will take action. They've proven that one young lady is not credible. And I hear so often in the media is that so many people are saying that these women are uncredible. I heard that about the president. They had these evangelical ladies sitting around, from Utah, saying that these women that have made accusations against the president are uncredible, and that he has made tremendous religious strides in the past year to change his ways. So we're not talking about what he's done in the last year. We're talking about what he did when he did what he did.
Yeah, when he said it.
Just like with these young ladies, even, Brown, the kicker for the Giants, his wife had to make 21 claims of abuse before anybody did anything. Just one claim of abuse wasn't enough.
And they were
10 claims wasn't enough.
And
19 wasn't enough. So every time we look at these young ladies being abused by these heinous men, and they come forth, and you beat them down, saying, "Are you sure? You sure you want to say this against him? You're going to ruin his life because what he did to you wasn't so bad." Well, you take your daughter and send it to that guy's house. Take your young daughter, your teenage daughter, and say, "Go spend the night at his house unsupervised."
Yep.
and see if what he did was so bad.
Well, unfortunately, we saw what happened with Sessions and down in Alabama and all them good old boys. It's as if they really don't care. Maybe there is a culture of negligence or criminality going on that's acceptable. It's called white skin privilege, according to Tim Wise. So hopefully these universities, again, when they show up to your house and they love your kid and your kid's going to be like their son, or they love your daughter and she's going to be like their daughter, they're going to make sure they take care of them. The schools need to produce how many people have been accused of assault on those campuses. I hope they put that in the law. It's already being talked about by the NCAA. Big C, in the land down under, there's something about Roger Federer. That guy, I mean, people say that as we get older, we slow down a little bit, but also we tend to mature a little bit more. I mean, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, Big C. But to have his 20th Grand Slam, and the guy looks like he has a few more in him, just talk about the perseverance that it takes to hit 20. Lennon, one or two Grand Slams is a lot. This guy's 20 times, Big C. That's incredible. Your thoughts?
You're talking in a five-set epic match also.
Yeah.
To win the five. And the heat in Australia was over 100 degrees. They had to close the roof on the stadium.
Yeah.
But to get to 20 Grand Slams, that's the greatest of all time, Charlton.
Yeah.
And you think about the competitors that he's gone against, and Roger's not young. He's going to win Wimbledon coming up because he's won 3 of the 4 last Grand Slams that he's been involved in.
Yeah.
And you think about his major competition of Nadal and Djokovic.
Yeah.
You know, even Murray.
Yeah.
These guys have not been able to stay the course like he has.
No, not at
They
all.
have not been able to maintain that level of excellence. Matter of fact, they've all gotten injured as of late.
Yeah.
So they have not been consistent with him. But, you know, just for Federer to consistently go out, and the thing that I loved about it most, Charlton, was the emotion that he shared at the end of the match.
Yeah.
To show that it was genuine, heartfelt.
Yeah.
You know, we don't get that from athletes anymore, that, you know, that they really appreciate what they've been able to accomplish. And so many of these young, cocky, arrogant people take it for granted.
Yeah.
But Roger Federer, being a senior citizen of the golf circuit, I mean, in his late 30s,
Yeah.
you know, he's a senior citizen.
Yeah, that's true.
To have that genuineness about him and that sincereness, professionalism and respect for the sport that he has tamed.
Yeah.
And no one's even close to him, Charlton. You think about 20. No one will get to that rarefied air, anymore in history. And for him to eclipse that, I believe he'll get Wimbledon to make it at least 21 and make it to 24, 25 before it's all over. But Roger Federer has been truly a jewel in the world of tennis.
Yeah, he definitely set the bar a little bit higher. Also, over the weekend in Southern California, Tiger Woods shoots 3 under. He finished 23rd in the Farmers Open, and that's the first time he's completed since 2015. And now Jason Day won the tournament. His first win in 20 months. He shot under 10. He shot 10 under. And he competed against Noren and also Palmer to win that in the playoff. But Jason Day winning the tournament is kind of second fiddle because Tiger gave golf aficionados and the golf universe the chance to start hoping again. If this guy can stay healthy and if he can learn to keep the ball on the fairway, Big C, then he's not far from winning. I know he's going to win another major. Will it be this year? Maybe. But he has to work on his driver. Now, with someone like him, and you have Faldo and great guys commentating, people that want to share what he should do, you would think someone could get a hold of him and work with him, even if it's just a week, to say, don't try to kill the ball on the driver. Just try to hit it a little bit less, but more accurate. Would that make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you know, if Tiger could have stayed on the fairways, Charlton, Tiger would have ended in the top 10, if not the top 5.
Yeah.
That was his Achilles heel. And Tiger has to understand that, you know, he's not going to drive the ball 330, 340 anymore consistently.
Yeah.
You know, he has to be willing to settle for 300.
Yeah.
And trust his irons after that, his rescue club, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what Tiger needs to do. Tiger needs to downsize on that driver and maybe go to that 3-wood.
Yeah.
And be accepted of 280 to 300 on the drive.
Yeah.
At least if you're in the fairway, Charlton, you're in the game.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he used to have this Buick commercial, okay?
Yeah.
Where, you know, that was about driving. Okay?
Yeah.
If that commercial was still there, they would have yanked him out of the car.
Yeah.
Okay? He wouldn't have been there. But that's what Tiger has to work on. But, you know, the people that was most excited about Tiger being there, Charlton, was the network.
Yeah.
The network ratings were up 38% for this golf tournament this week, Charlton.
Ticket sales, too.
Played 4 rounds.
Yeah.
You know,
Ticket sales,
so
too.
you know, you think about that. Your ratings are up 38%. That's revenue.
Yeah.
That's what people love. Now, what Tiger needs to do, Charlton, is play in some extra tournaments. Not just playing the big boys, playing some extra tournaments.
Yeah.
Get some time in, because what makes you sprint the ball, Charlton, is that adrenaline.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to control your adrenaline all over again. You think about Tiger not being able to finish a tournament since 2015.
Yeah.
So that adrenaline was all over the place, just like his drivers were, Charlton.
Yeah.
So he needs to find a way to work through his adrenaline, and that's by playing more tournaments.
Big C, you know some guys that know Tiger. Why don't you guys ever think of sending them some moonshine, that smooth stuff that you guys pull out for the good guests, not
Well,
just...
you know, Tiger had to go through this abuse program.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we're not trying to encourage him in anything.
Okay.
Right? So we want him to stay straight.
I beg your pardon on that, Big C. What does Jason Day do when you go 10 under, you win the tournament and the playoff win, and he's like the guy that gets the ancillary prize, Big C. He just has to keep trying to win. It's been his first win in 20 months, but it's almost like the guy that people want to see beat Jack's record. And because that's what Tiger, we talk about Brady, can he get Super Bowl number 6? We talk about, can the Patriots win another championship? You know, we always talk about what's the next thing to accomplish. Can the Warriors win another, championship back-to-back? Can Tiger Woods get Jack's record? And he only needs 4 majors to do it. And like you mentioned, if he stays in the fairway, he'll get it. And the fact he's only 42 years old, he has another 10 years of golf in him, Big C, especially if he's healthy. So what's Jason Day do, and all the other guys, Spieth and Johnson, no matter what they do, they're always a second fiddle on the tour, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think all the younger guys have learned to appreciate when Tiger's around, because he's allowed them to have such success financially in life. And Jason Day, once the number 1 ranked golfer in the world, just a couple of short years ago, Charlton, and has struggled. And we see this all the time.
Yeah.
But when golfers struggle nowadays, Charlton, and they fall down the rankings, no one really notices.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that king of golf any longer.
Yeah.
And so it's always the next man up right now. But when Tiger came onto the circuit and he finished, 4 rounds and ended up under par.
Yeah.
That was a great insight into golf, where golf can get back to. If he's competitive, everyone will be galvanized to the screen for golf, Charlton.
Yeah.
He's going to bring so much entertainment back into that industry, Charlton, because people just want to see him fail or they want to see him succeed. There's no in between with Tiger.
Yeah.
You have your lovers and you have your haters. But the thing about having both of those, Charlton, they will both watch with the same amount of enthusiasm.
Well, that's the thing that I followed when I heard, some of the commentated and listening to Jim Nantz and how he's done a lot of broadcasting all over the world. But the thing with Tiger and seeing how they comment on every swing, I think what golf has finally gotten right, Big C, is for the television viewing audience, where they can show a side screen, how they can show what the ball would look like if it's followed by a little red arrow, and they're showing you where the ball's hit, how far it's going up, the trajectory, where it's going to land. I think that helps the average person pay attention to the game, because for the most part, you can't see unless you got one of those 4K TV. But you got the 10K deal going on, Big C. If you don't have 4K, you can't see where that golf ball is, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, ironically, Charlton, when we talk about network stealing from other things, when we talked about the NFL stealing a camera angle from the XFL, golf stole that from hockey several years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Hockey, when it was on television on a regular basis, NBC, they had the puck followed with a laser.
Yeah.
And with hockey, period, it's hard to follow unless you're right there on the ice.
Yeah.
Television just doesn't do it justice.
Exactly.
And so golf brought in that same technology of that laser arc on the ball to help the fan follow the shot, which is great.
Yeah.
For those who can't play golf.
Yeah.
Who's always arguing to see the arc of a ball, seeing how they would have hit a shot. And we see the pros go out there and hit it effortlessly, and when they make a mistake, they notice it right off the back. You see them pull away and a little disgust because they knew they should have hit the ball different. But as Joe fan, you'd be happy to hit, 10% of the shots they hit. Yeah,
that's true, Big C. Coming up on the Masters, I know down south, that's kind of like the Super Bowl for you guys, and it's a Super Bowl for everyone in the golf universe, seeing the Masters coming up. Also, just seeing Phil out there doing his thing lefty, and it would be so nice to see these two guys. And they were talked about at the same time for a start, I believe mostly on a Sunday and a Saturday night they were talking about that. But to see those two, they really make golf relevant. But I even got to say, Phil has to take a backseat to Tiger, because Tiger with 14 majors, Phil doesn't have. I think he has about 3 majors, Big C, but he doesn't come close to even matching what Tiger does as far as selling tickets. Remember, Phil was still out there doing his thing when Tiger was, going through the rehab and going through the surgeries. So Phil doesn't even sell golf tickets. It's just matching him to Tiger. Maybe if they had Tiger versus Spieth, but these young guys got to get up there and compete. So, even Day, no one's talking about him, and he won the tournament. Just give me a few thoughts on the Masters. What do you think we're going to hear going into the Masters? Who are they going to try to play? Is it Johnson? Even if Woods is not going to be in the top 10, maybe he'll finish in the top 15 or so. Who are they going to try to say this is the guy that people want to see versus Tiger Woods? It can't just be Tiger by himself. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, no, I can't, Charles, but there's going to have to be some establishment in some pre-Masters tournaments, Charles.
Yeah.
Who's going to be competitive right now? Day has won the first one of the year.
Yeah.
And so right now he has to be put on the top shelf.
Yeah.
And there was a 3-man playoff.
Yeah.
But they won the tournament.
No,
so
we'll
see how the next couple of tournaments go, as far as how the rankings go into the Masters, who's where.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
And it comes down to seeding and what the weather is. I mean, at times the Masters have some horrible weather with the rain, the wind. If we can get some hot, calm days during that time in April, Charlton, who knows what the course will do. I mean, the Augusta was changed a decade ago because of Tiger.
Yeah.
It was lengthened because he could outshoot the course.
Yeah.
And that's been a struggle for everybody since that, Charlton.
Yeah.
So, we know that Tiger doesn't hit the ball like he used to. So Augusta is a long ball hitting course. Whoever's hitting the longest straight, Charlton, always has the best chance to compete there.
Well, I tell you, the golf universe was really happy with the fact that we could see Tiger out there again, not just to make it about him, but it is about him, and the rest of the world of golf is going to follow behind it, and I'm sure they want him to do well because the viewership is going to go up. Even the guys who finish in the top 10, they'll get more notoriety in media because they'll at least be mentioned in the same breath. And again, when you look at a guy like Federer, 20 Grand Slams, you look at Tiger with 14 majors, almost slipped and did it. Tony Romo said 18 majors, Big C. But when you look at that, these things don't come along all that often. I want to see it get done while I'm still a young man. So congratulations to Tiger, and congratulations to Jason Day on winning the Farmers Open. Big C, the last story we'll touch on, in the NBA, Blake Griffin in a trade with the Detroit Pistons. He's a Piston now. And you look at how the Clippers have already gotten rid of, Chris Paul, and they've had some injuries throughout the year. There's even talk that DeAndre Jordan might be on the trading blocks. It looks like Doc Rivers is looking to go a little bit younger with that team in L.A. They're in the 9th spot in the playoffs at 25-24. But with Griffin, he missed 99 games in 4 years, Big C. 99 games in 4 years is a lot of misses. He's averaging 22.6 points a game. He's only played in 66% of their games. And you think about it. They got rid of 5 years, $170 million, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this team reminded me a lot of the Sacramento Kings years ago when the Lakers were hot in the West like Golden State is now.
Yeah.
Is that you never had enough to get to them.
Yeah.
And you can make it to the finals, you can make it in the playoffs, and that was it. And so we've seen the systematic dismantling of this team when Chris Paul left early, before the season started. Now that Griffin is gone, and as you talked about, DeAndre Jordan, this is a team that I don't even know if Doc Rivers would be around at the end of the year, but what they're doing is they're showing the salary cap, hoping that they can find some young players that can play together. The NBA is a fickle league. I mean, we look at a team like OKC in the same division, and everyone talks about their struggles. But right now, they're in 4th place in the West, 2 games out of 3rd.
Yeah.
So this is a team that has put it together with an 8-game winning streak. You're not going to get an 8-game winning streak out of the Clippers, Charlton, because there's just too much disarray and disenchantment in that team. It started last year with Doc Rivers and playing his son with Chris Paul, and everybody felt nepotism, and that divided the team. Yeah. And now that they've gotten rid of Paul and Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan won't be far behind, Charlton, what does this team have left?
Yeah, they have the chance to rebuild, but sometimes you got to start getting in. There's going to be a big move this offseason. Players are going to go, they're going to shift, they're going to transition, but there are teams that say the guy that only plays in 66% of our games, making $170 million over 5 years. He's not going to help him win a championship. He may help Detroit just a little bit because now they're in the Eastern Conference and they're a challenge, but no one's really going to supplant. When you look at Cleveland and then Boston and Toronto, that's the top three in the Eastern Conference. Everybody else is just going to be a part of the playoff bracket. In the West, you look at Golden State, you look at Houston. Those are the two top teams. OKC, there's a time when they can get up and beat some people, and you really can't count out San Antonio, even though they're a little bit long in the tooth. Big C, give me your thoughts on if you think about that. The Clippers are going to rebuild. LA is trying to rebuild. They're making a move for anybody. Anyone on the radar that you would like to see go to the Clippers? Because even going to LA, you want to play for the Lakers, not the Clippers. Big C, your thoughts?
I mean, Charlton, when you look at what they just did to that team, they've proven that they don't have room for superstars out there. Who's going to come in? That they don't have any stabilization in that organization.
Yeah.
Either one of those LA teams, I mean, when you look, you put them both together, Charlton, at the end of the year, you're not going to get 80 victories between them.
Yeah.
When you think about that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are two organizations in disarray, and especially the Clippers as they're dismantling this, ever since the team was sold, Charlton.
Yeah.
And it's just been up in the air.
Yeah.
And so the NBA, it's moving more towards putting together super teams.
Yeah.
You can't bring in one player and say it's going to make a difference.
Right.
You got to have three players now, Charlton, that are stabilizers. We saw what is stabilized in OKC. We saw what is stabilized in Houston.
Yep.
We see what Golden State has done. We see what Boston did at their move this year, Charlton.
Yeah.
The team is having problems that are getting old. Look at Cleveland. They're struggling.
Yeah.
Toronto in second place in the East. No one even knows what DeRozan and his gang are doing up there, but they're in second place in the East.
Yeah.
So it's about putting some players together that are willing to play for one common goal.
Yep.
There's enough ego to go around in the NBA.
Yep.
It's just like with the All-Star game, Charlton.
Yeah.
They upped the ante this year to the winners to $100,000 each.
Yeah.
And the losers get $25,000.
Yep.
You got to think about it. The average salary of every All-Star player on the team this year, Charlton, is $22 million.
Wow.
Okay?
Yep.
Of every starter.
Yep.
It's $22 million. So I'm trying to figure out what a $100,000 motivation is.
Maybe buy them a nice car, Big C, but they already got nice cars, Big C. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bondini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you've got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, I saw what might have been a prelude to the NBA championship game, Charlton, when I saw the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics play.
Yeah.
I saw two players going back and forth, scoring 86 points between them.
Yep.
I mean, one of the greater guard performances back and forth that I've seen in many years in the NBA between Steph Curry and Kyrie Irving.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just one-upmanship when you look at it. No one handles the ball like Kyrie Irving. No one shoots the ball like Steph Curry.
Yep.
What a marvelous matchup that would be if it becomes the NBA Finals. Those two players going at it for a fourth consecutive year.
Big C is some of the better basketball I've seen in a long time. How both teams played team basketball. So we look forward to some great basketball coming up, especially for the playoffs. As we always tell you, you can always follow what we talk about on Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. And you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always want to tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no woman should ever have to deal with that garbage all on her own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.